Hi students, by now, if you've been on my website even for just a little bit, you've probably seen this picture. And if curiosity has caught you at all, you've either asked me about it or you've been wondering about this picture. Today, I introduce you to the Flotsam Project. Flotsam is a book by David Wisner. It is an award-winning book for its pictures, and that's because it doesn't have any words, which means every single piece is a picture in his book. And today I'm going to give the students a picture from this book in which they are going to have the opportunity to create the words to the book. However, they're going to take all of the lessons that we've learned so far in our group reading lessons on figures of speech and figurative language to apply the words to this book. Now, the pictures are going to be picked randomly. The students will get whichever picture they get and hopefully not get upset, but really the application is when the fun comes into play. So far we've learned about alliteration, we've learned about similes, metaphors, and personification. These are all figures of speech that great authors use in their writing to grab readers' attention. So what you are going to be doing is taking your picture and writing down at least 2 examples of alliteration, at least 2 examples of similes, an example of a metaphor, and an example of personification with the picture that Mr. Panza gives you. After you have done that, your page will look something like this, only more organized. You can see that I looked at a specific picture and I started to write down words that could alliterate that I saw in the picture, like cool and camera or seahorses and swimming. I wrote down an example of one of the similes I thought that I could make based on the fish swimming as fast as a jet plane. Then the next one I wanted to use the word like. You could also see that I used the metaphor life's a beach or the camera came to life for personification in my last example here. When you have finally pieced together all of your examples, and this is a very sketch, rough copy, which I expect much more from the students, you are then ready to take them and start to piece together the words to the page that you've been given. And when you're finished, it may look something like this. On a fun-filled Friday, the fish swam slowly downstream next to his school. Now, I wanted to point out that you could see not just one example of alliteration, but there's 2. And there aren't just 2 words that alliterate together. You can see my first example all have the f sounds in the letter F, but there are 4 words that alliterate: fun, filled, Friday, and fish. My second example is also evident: swam slowly, stream, and school. And there's more than just 2 words. So I can clearly see, even though I've used many different examples, I've at the very least hit the expectations of this project and used a minimum 2 examples of alliteration. Moving on to similes, you can see those coming up next. The fish was as slow as paint drying on a cold day. There's my first example of a simile. Why? Because I'm comparing how slow the fish was swimming to paint drying on a cool day. Here's my second simile. The school of fish became irritated, like, there's my comparison word, a man who just lost his lunch money. Those are my 2 examples of similes that, when evident, means I've completed that part of the project. Life was no longer a beach. You can see this is my metaphor because I do not use the words like or as, but I'm comparing life to a day on the beach, and that it's no longer a day on the beach. Suddenly the camera jumped to life is personification, because cameras cannot jump, they don't have legs. I'm giving a human quality to the camera, and it flickered with flashes and took pictures of the slow fish and its irritated school. Now, perhaps you've noticed that I didn't necessarily point out the additional examples of figures of speech that I have. That's because I'm not necessarily requiring you to have more than just the examples that I've outlined in the organizer. However, you can see once you've become good at it, you can piece figurative language in every piece or every sentence that you create. Flickered, flashes is an example of alliteration. Fish adds to that alliteration. You can see that I've used it more than just what I've asked for. And you can always add different figures of speech as we go throughout this project. The challenge now is to take whatever picture I give you from this wordless picture book, create the words to it using awesome alliteration, similes, metaphors, and personification. Good luck and have fun.